Perks really likes to play AD mids. He has a really good Kiana, really good Lucian, really good Yasuo. And I'm expecting to see one of the picks going that way. Against LeBlanc, either he goes with AP jungle or AP mid and he just picks something like the Rise, or he just goes for the Lucian.
It's the Soraka. There it is. She is.
Yeah, he has 3 AD mids, so I think he's comfortable with the 3 of them, most likely.
Now the question is how many bands do they want to spend making sure this is a comfortable matchup? Obviously, without seeing scrims, we can only theory craft. We've heard about the sonar or whatever, but like, are G2 really going to ban it here?
I mean, to be fair, Soraka can go mid. Yeah. Against LeBlanc.
That sounds unfair. That sounds distinctly unfair.
So I don't know.
Oh no.
Maybe they'll flex it. Let's see. I wouldn't expect it. I think that G2 considers Soraka right now to be a strong blind, and they are willing to just go with it all the way.
Yeah, also with like a ban like Aurelia too, that seems like a champion that with a jungler next to her has the ability to like really punish the Soraka early on. Because from what we've seen with a lot of Soraka around the world is that like she pushes in lane, or like you can hold it back, but a lot of times if you are trading aggressively, you're going to draw minion aggro, which means your minions are naturally going to be pushing forward. So very exploitable to enemy ganks.
This Braum ban is surprising. I would expect them to maybe even get it. Thresh is already banned. They have Aphelios. Braum synergizes really well with it. Maybe we can see a flex Soraka to bot. I don't know. This Soraka can be still played in all the 3 positions that are left.
We also saw earlier today over in the LCK sort of like a double support comp being run from Hanwha Life, where they had a Soraka in top lane and Yuumi in bot lane. Now that was with a Olaf in the jungle, but I wouldn't put it past G2 to go like heavy on the heels.
I mean, now we know that it's probably not bot anymore. Obviously, this Nautilus can still be a flex, but I mean, with G2, you always
There's the paranoid.
I would be talking more for Perks than the Nautilus, to be fair. But I don't know. I mean, I don't like to exclude any option against G2, especially if I'm drafting against them. But most naturally, here it's obviously the last pick for Caps, which is kind of surprising, which means that this Soraka flex is actually alive, otherwise they wouldn't do it.
Okay, to me right now, it seems like Rogue's comp is going to be much harder to execute than what G2 have put together right now. Like, obviously, like, you have a really powerful backliner, but in terms of, like, actual CC setup for your team and for your Senna to, like, get out auto attacks, on top of the fact there's, like, all these heals coming through from the Soraka on the other side, I'm actually questioning whether or not, like, Larson can have a huge impact later on, because when he goes in for, like, burst trades, like, there's going to be healing coming through.
I actually love this composition. Like,
it's set mid.
It's set mid.
Yes. 100 or not 100%, but I think it might be set mid. Maybe
you think it might be set mid? It might be Soraka bottom is what they're teasing. Well, we got till 20 seconds. But what I will say is that I love G2's composition from an execution standpoint. I think the biggest issue that I have with Aphelios is that a lot of times he needs a lot of peel with a comp that wants to dive forward. But when you have a Soraka, when you have a Gragas who can be used for engage or disengage, I just think it's so good. And there it is. You're right, Yodo.
Smashed it.
It's the set mid.
All right, so Gyoto, Andre, whatever you want to present it as, you're a mastermind. You said 100%. We say you never go 100%.
Yeah, but then
but you did. You did, and you've paid off.
As Under was saying, you have to take risks.
Absolutely. And I'm going to take a risk by interrupting you and saying it's time to find out if Rogue can pull off a shocking upset as we head over to Medi Medi.
There we are, my microphone is now working. Set mid is the pick here for G2. I was really hoping for the Aphelios mid pick, Vedius, but it didn't come out in the end.
Yeah, so set mid. This is going to be interesting. I believe... So I was talking to Bwippo about this earlier, and he was like, I'm pretty confident that Chovy played it. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know if Chovy played mid. I'm pretty sure he played top.
Yeah, he played.
But in any case, Bwippo was telling us about how set has been flexed a lot between top and mid lane. And honestly, like, I've never seen the Set versus LeBlanc matchup.
Nor have I.
So, like, on paper, I would assume that LeBlanc would have a lot of advantages in this matchup. You know, it's a range matchup. LeBlanc typically has a lot of burst. However, I've been playing a lot of Set recently, and Set is really obnoxious to get out of lane. The health regeneration that he has, along with the shield. Oh, and Perks is already starting the sit-ups in the mid lane.
Those were the slow sit-ups, though. That's the slow burn. You fatigue yourself before you really feel the power of those sit-ups.
He's warming up. He's warming up. He's feeling it. All right, well, we're going to watch this mid-lane matchup because I'm super curious as to how, how Perkz actually plays this one out. Of course, we do have a Soraka into the Aatrox top lane. I think Aatrox can be fine in this. It was actually a matchup that we've seen a couple times over in the LCK. The thing about it is usually it's very easy. I say very easy. It's possible for the Aatrox to go pretty even, maybe even get a slight advantage during the laning phase. But obviously the longer the game goes on, the worse that is. You want to be trying to shut down the Soraka. If you can dive her, that's definitely a great opportunity for you. But the later this game goes, the harder it's going to be for champions like LeBlanc to be able to one-shot you, for Aatrox to be able to kill you. And for anyone that may have seen the LCK game earlier in the day, Hanwha Life versus SKT, or T1 rather, my apologies, you will be very aware of how obnoxious Soraka can be in these late game fights.
So Rogue went for an invade here, was spotted out pretty early on. Did use the sweeper, but Inspired will be able to get his, well, the enemy is blue pretty easily. Jankos was at the Wolves, is going to have completed those and then come across towards the top side of the map.
So Jankos is, he's obviously going to lose his blue buff, right? I'm curious as to whether or not he'll actually go for an invade, because one of the things he has to be careful of is the fact that he won't be able to get priority in this mid lane. You can see LeBlanc early on, pretty tough to deal with, especially for melee matchups. So it's a big gamble for him to try and invade.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he just does a full top side clear. And Inspired, he may skip his red. I think it would be dangerous to do that though, especially on a Lee Sin. And then of course the bot lane of G2 have to play defensively because they realize their jungler is on top side. So overall good. But to kind of focus back in on this mid lane matchup, the first thing to note is that Perkz actually started with his E early laning phase. I actually quite like that. It's pretty easy to land the stun in lane because when you can walk up, the range can catch a lot of people off guard, especially if you're not experienced in the matchup. But then Perkz is of course taking the W second, which can look to punish. But looking for a gank in mid lane.
Chains onto a minion isn't going to be the best. Perkz still has the flash. The Sonic Wave connects, but because that grit was built up, I think Inspired didn't want to go to jump in.
100%. You're correct there, Medic. If the chains had landed, it may have been a more dangerous situation for Perkz. Of course, he still had his flash, but he wasn't forced to burn it. Now, of course, he will be able to teleport back into lane. Will grab himself some boots and a health pod as well. Hook lands.
Yeah, not going to be under the tower, though. Vander's able to spit Hans Sommer straight back out, and the piercing darkness from Hans Sommer will tag both Caps and Mickey. I know we will be talking a lot about the mid lane matchup, but something you keep mentioning to me when you talk about your solo queue adventures with Set is his health regeneration. Of course, the second part of his passive makes you regen extra health for health that you're missing. Yeah. So it's very difficult to keep him down low on HP in lane.
Yeah, that's why you go for a Doran Shield early. It synergizes really well with his passive. And when he's taking this harassment, he can just stick around in lane for a really long time. So I found that he does quite well against mana-based champions as well, because you can trade pretty actively, and you can end up still coming out on top just because of the health regeneration.
Oh, Perkz is already here. Roaming bot once again. We've seen this early on in the split. Vander caught out, flashes away the face breaker into the thick skin. Perkz is slowed up, but Vander's going to ball the haymaker from downtown. Perkz finds the first kill of the game, and that Caps is looking for just a little bit more. Hans Sommer fourth back.
Excellent roam coming in from Perkz, and he used such a great window to look for a roam because, of course, he got forced back early by an early gank. But then Larssen used that as an opportunity to do an early base himself. He wanted to restock on his Corrupting Potion stacks and grab the Amp Tone, and in that window, Perkz was able to fast shove the lane and then look for a roam bot, which Rogue weren't expecting. Like, who expects a Set roam at level 4? Beautifully done from the Set. And you can see here the minion wave crashes into the tower. Larssen is catching it. And then the TP comes in from Caps. And Vander and Hans Sommer, they don't have any vision here. They must realize at this point, oh, okay, the mid lane is missing. They see him. He gets, he doesn't get stunned up because he obviously doesn't have a minion on the other side, but then no flash available, and he's in the true damage section, which means that he's able to find that big kill. So Perkz already walking away with first blood on the Set mid.
It's not often you get forced out of lane and are able to come out on top, but that's exactly what Perkz have done, and it's one of the reasons G2 are the top team in the league right now. Their ability to find something out of nothing. One
of the great things about this is he can now just get early Merc Treads, which is so valuable when playing against the LeBlanc. And you can actually see that if we have a look at the health bars, Larssen's taken a lot of damage. in this mid lane. He's been taking a couple of trades that have not been going in his favor, and we see Hansama.
Oh, he's being... Wasn't ignited, was ticking down, but heals up. Here comes Perks once again, the base breaker. He's got the showstopper straight underneath the tower, though, with Perks perhaps caught in no man's land. Larson dodges back. The ignite is ticking. Get outplayed. Janko's on his way, but he's going to dive under the turret as well. And Larson gets away with the 1-0.
Beautifully done from Larson. He punishes the aggression from Perks, and he walks away with a kill. Very much needed after Perks found that roam in the bot lane, but Larson showing that there are new mid laners in town.
It's the mid lane show right now. Larson and Perks both on the scoreboard early on. And Inspired comes here just to help clear out the waves, going to force Jankos away. Jankos was trying to hold that for Perks, who of course hasn't got his TP to get back to lane.
So we're going to have a take another look at this one. Perks hits level 6, flashes in, gets the stun with his E, interrupts the dash with his ultimate, and
oh, that dodge back from Larson.
so one of the things was, of course, Larson went invisible because of his passive. The way in which ults, things like the Yasuo ultimate and Set's ultimate, when you use it underneath a tower, it automatically puts you away from the tower. But normally when you use that ult, oh, hang on a second, Inspired is getting pretty low.
So Inspired's low, but Vander is on his way across. Inspired's going to jump back in. That was really well played. Inspired just needs to get out of the pit long enough that Vander could come and shepherd him to safety.
Yeah, so Rogue are going to walk away with the Infernal Drake, but want to just quickly highlight this point. Normally, when you use the Set ultimate, you actually end up behind the target. So you can see that Perks looked behind him, and he was ready to use his ultimate, but then he realized, I'm underneath the tower. The mechanic works differently, and so he hesitated on using his W. Then when he did use the W, that gave Larson the opportunity to jump back. So the very small thing there allowed Larson to walk away with the kill.
And the reason we focus so much on this mid lane is because both of the players have been stellar performers for their team across the course of this split. We'll start with Larson, topping the charts in terms of, well, getting close to the top of the charts in terms of KDA, CS differential, and damage percent, but without much pressure from his jungler.
Yeah, that's the most impressive thing, what Larson is able to do without jungle assistance. And when you compare that to his lane counterpart in Perks, you can see that the only person ahead of him, things like KDA, is...
That's over the wall! Is this where Perks wants to be?
I mean, it's the boss. Of course he wants to be there.
It's okay, he gets out.
He gets out, but Larson struggling under the pressure. But as we were saying, you can see that Perks leading in the KDA, one behind Larson when it comes to CSD. Damage per minute has the highest of any mid laner. I was a doubter of his return to the mid lane. I didn't think that he would be as strong as Caps, but you've also got to remember that before Caps came along, Perks was the big boy.
Yep.
He was the boss of the mid lane. And since his return, he just seems to be dumpstering on a lot of the opposition, but now he's going up against Larson, the young man that has been following in his footsteps and is hot on his heels and already finding a big outplay. Definitely showcasing that we still have some up-and-coming mid talent here in Europe.
Slight CS lead for Perks in that mid lane, about 10 ahead. Down in the bottom lane, Hansama has a 14 CS lead over Caps on that Aphelios. In the top, Finn has got himself a sizable sum, about 20 farm ahead over that Soraka after Wanda had a relatively good early lane.
Well, there is a big wave stacking up right now, so he's probably just going to grab that farm relatively soon. But as you were rightly saying, we talked about it in the draft where, or rather early laning phase, Aatrox is very capable of getting these CS advantages in lane, and having an advantage is very important. When you have a big wave stacked up like that, in an ideal world, they would have looked to try and dive the Soraka, especially seeing as Wanda's actually running teleport rather than something like the barrier, or maybe the cleanse or the heal that we sometimes see on top lane Soraka. But in any case, the fact that he has an advantage is still a big deal for Rogue. They have pressure in mid, they have pressure in top, and of course that mid lane pressure is slowly starting to go in Perks' favor as he starts to itemize much more defensively. We talked about the Merc Treads, really helping him a lot. He's already picking up HP. That's likely going to be working into the Phage. Phage, a very important item on set. Helps you keep the gap closed because of the extra movement speed that it gives you. And the big question is, will he go Trinity Force or Black Cleaver? Because again, I had a lot of conversation with Bubbo today. But I was talking to him, I'm like, are you a Black Cleaver man or are you a Trinity Force man? And he said, once you go Trinity Force, you never go back. Yep. You know, like, it's too good. He's too big of a fan. And a great point that he made was that the thing about Black Cleaver is in lane for extended trades, really good, very valuable. But in team fights, you just want to dunk people.
Yeah.
You know,
how do you get enough auto attacks in to get your Black Cleaver?
You just want to dunk in, you want to get in the middle of the fight, you want to try and use your E to stun up targets, but you're not really going to be stacking up, you just want to get that Trinity Force proc. So that's why we see a lot of sets prioritizing that and then usually going something like the Sterex afterwards.
Larssen jumping in the mid lane once again. I do want to bring attention to Mickey because he's had actually a really good start to this play. Had a weak one, in my opinion. Died a few too many times in lane. But his map awareness and his ability to be in the right place for his team at the right time is stellar. He actually came up towards the top lane as Inspired and Larssen were looking for a dive on Wonder and was able to get here without actually losing too much in the bottom lane either. He'll be able to get back to bot in time for perhaps the next wave to push in. And because of that, G2 really don't lose anything on the top side of the map, where it could have cost them a lot. Now, Wonder has... Okay, he's almost cost me my words there. Pops the Wish. Finn tried to get a lot of damage off. Wonder's going to regen there with the Star Call. Dawning Shadow coming out, but it's not going to be enough for now. Finn flashing in, gets the kill in the 1v1.
And it was the Senna ultimate that was really the difference maker as Wonder gets punished for face-checking that brush. Beautiful play from Finn. Again, we talked about how Aatrox does have the ability to punish things like the Soraka, the chase down potential, the amount of damage output. Wonder almost gets away, but not enough.
Jankos needs to be careful because Mando is the support to roam now. Larssen knocked back. Jankos goes golden, but Hans Summer's here as well. Perks with the Haymaker, can't quite connect. Jankos flashes away, and the chase is on. One more lick would have been enough to stun Perks in his place, but they can't quite find the connection. Mickey's here once again to help out his mid laner. And Rogue just going to pop with that Rift Herald in the top lane. Want to get as many plates as possible before this Herald charges in. They should be able to just knock down that second and almost take out the tower.
And beautifully played here from Rogue. This is going to open up the map a lot, start allowing Finn to move around the map more. Maybe they can look to try and force a couple more fights because, again, you've got to remember how strong the Soraka is going to be in the late game. The fact that Finn has all this extra gold, is that much stronger, is going to be really valuable for Rogue, especially seeing as they're starting to bully Perks around in the mid lane as well. So Rogue looking very good in this early game.
Really strong, giving up a Mountain Drake, which really doesn't give too much to G2. Not too many tanks there, not too much armor or magic as this being built. So G2 will get that Mountain, but Rogue at the 13-minute mark have about a 300 gold lead.
So this Cloud, pretty valuable for G2, but we'll get to that in a second. You can see Wonder... He's just trying to clear the control ward. Really good setup there from Finn, largely because he gets that initial knockup, but then in that animation, of getting the first knockup, that's when he lands the W and then pops the ultimate as well. So he's able to stick close to the Soraka, and there's very little options that she has to escape. I think Wonder should have just flashed earlier, but he holds onto it for a little bit too long. Admittedly, he was healing a lot,
yes,
and he was pretty confident he could get out of that situation, but then, of course, the Senna ultimate came through, as we saw from our wonderful observers.
I was surprised, but like, it's not often you see a Senna ultimate chased across the map like that. That looked really cool. Observers on top form today. And now we'll see what Rogue decide to do. They've opened up the top side of the map. They still have their bot turret sitting at one plate. For the moment, it looks like bot lanes are going to be in the bot side, although Wonder has migrated his way down there.
We'll see that G2 has... as you were talking about setting up these lane assignments, I'm thinking about what they can now... Ooh, okay. Dangerous. I'm thinking about what they can do considering the items that they have, because Trinity Force isn't done yet for Perks. Caps does have the Essence Reaver, but Ludens is finished for the LeBlanc. Finn... Ooh, interesting that he's also picked up the lifesteal. I was wondering if he was going to prioritize the Black Cleaver, but he may be going for an early Death Dance. We'll have to keep track of what direction he takes his itemization. But... in any case, it feels like that G2 are just going to kind of keep the game slowed down for now. Like, when you think about scaling, you kind of have to give the advantage to G2 just because they have the Soraka on their team. I'm really curious as to how much damage this set is going to be doing in the late game. Are they going to be relying on Caps to be the primary damage dealer with Set as a frontline and, like, Disruptor in the back?
Well, he is going Trinity Force, so...
I mean, yeah, but like, that's kind of like the core itemization, because of how naturally tanky Set is. Like, he's a bruiser. He is a typical bruiser where you kind of build some damage. Like, it's very similar to Aatrox, right? And it's that debate of, do you consider Aatrox to be reliable, good late-game damage?
I've seen it be, but reliability is the question.
Yeah,
right?
But it's the same situation with, do you expect Olaf to be reliable, good late-game damage? No, but when you pair it with a Soraka, how does that change, right? And so that's the thing that I don't have full knowledge of, and that's the thing that I'm kind of keeping track of. Of course, Caps is going to do a lot of damage in the late game. Yeah, these Soraka comps always, they're always one of those, okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Executioner's Calling has been finished by Hans Sommer to try and keep a track on
surprise,
that
no
healing.
surprise.
But
I wonder who's going to take on... I mean, Larson should take on Morello responsibility.
Yeah.
And Finn actually not picking up an Executioner's. Okay, I mean, that's fine. I'm a little surprised, but he's decided to prioritize his own itemization for now. We can see that the Drake does spawn in about 2 minutes' time, as Soraka forced to play defensively, given that she's looking to group up with the team, perhaps.
You just don't want to get caught out by anyone. G2 do have some wards in that bottom side, but for the moment, Wonder will come up towards mid lane. Top lane is being pushed out by Larson, who seems to have Perks' number so far this game. And with the Rift Herald being taken, I wonder where Rogue will want to place that. Getting, of course, the first Rift Herald very early on means it's a lot easier for you to take the second. Face Breaker coming in from Perks, but you still take the damage from the Distortion, and perhaps Rogue are just going to trade pressure here. They know they've got a Control Ward in, they know they've got the Rift Herald, they know it's a minute left on that Dragon.
Do you want to use it top, though? I feel like trying to break open the mid lane tower would be a much better use of the Rift Herald. But given the wave state, yeah, okay. I don't think using it top... I much prefer this place.
Okay.
Generating pressure top and then rotating down to mid with your group.
Oh, Caps. Inferno Chain's going to land. He flashes away. Mickey trying to land the Dredge line from the side, but can't quite get it. Finn flashing forward. Dawning Shadow connects, but Hero Wonder and Yanko for the heals. The Rift Herald pops in the mid lane as Finn tries to get away, and Tarn catches on the front line. Vander flashes across the wall. G2 teleporting in, looking for a fight. Perks is going forward, trying to land the knocker, but can't quite get it. And now he's been hooked up by those ethereal chains. The Rift Herald comes in, charges, but doesn't get too much damage off, and G2 able to push back Rogue's advances.
So, the fact that Rogue were able to force the flash out from Caps, I thought was great. The problem is, I then think they overcommitted to trying to kill Caps, because at that point, that was when G2 was in position to get the turnaround, and Rogue couldn't get a tower. Because they were in a perfect position to secure a free mid-tier 1 then. They had the Rift Herald, they had the collapse coming in from Larson and Finn, but then because they overforced this fight, of course G2 was able to get the re-engage, force Rogue back, and then that tower still stays alive. It took a lot of damage, but the fact that G2 were able to keep that up means they can keep stalling the game out and can wait for the Soraka to really come online and wait for these further items to be completed.
You can see Wonder's already well on his way towards the Athene's Redemption combination that we talk about for Soraka's. That team fight utility you provide, the healing you provide, is insurmountable at times. It was Death Dance first for Finn in the top lane, deciding to get a little bit of healing, damage mitigation rather than damage reduction. And G2 now starting up the Dragon. It's a Cloud. You said earlier, of course, this is very impactful for G2, reducing those ultimate timers.
Yeah, and I think that it's always something interesting to compare, because long cooldown ultimates are obviously something that Cloud Drake benefits the most. Oh, great prediction there from Larson on the chains.
Lands the chains, gets silenced, the root on Wonder, but Yankos is coming in from the top side of this fight. Larson jumps forward once again. The Soraka, the healing. If you land a Star Core, you heal up like 200 HP.
It's the silence, man. It's the silence that I think is so obnoxious, because as a mage, when you're trying to dive onto Soraka and she just like, quiet! And then you just can't do anything. And especially for LeBlanc, she can't even jump back to her W placement. You're just kind of stuck there in the silence. You have to awkwardly walk out.
I'll be honest, there's sometimes when I'm casting with you that I wish I was Soraka.
Wow, low blow, medic.
You're not that much shorter than me. Anyway, Wonder's still under the tower. Larson going to jump forward with the distortion. Keeps landing those chains. He's on top form on this LeBlanc, but it's so difficult to force that Soraka out of lane. It looks like Finn is matching Perks in the top lane, and the AD carries are sitting in mid. But still, trying to crack that mid lane tower, really the name of the game here for Rogue. They've been stored at about 1,000 gold ahead of G2 for the last 5 minutes or so.
It's the meta, medic. We're in that slower meta. Even G2 are falling prey to it. One of the faster teams that we have in our league. Their logic is, well, just scale.
Well, I do want to come back to that faster point, because in week 1, they really struggled in the early game. They tended to fall quite far behind, and this week, they're doing the same, it feels. And last week, they were quick ready. 5 kills at 15 minutes. Half a death. I was so excited. I was looking forward to action. And then we get this.
You know, I was going to say in the last game, well, it's okay. We've got a G2 game next, so we don't need to worry about it. But, yeah, then...
But the thing is, there's still a lot of stuff going on. It's just...
I mean, for sure.
It's not kills. And against the Soraka, I guess I can understand how a lot of it isn't kills.
Is there that much going on? I think it's just the nature of the meta.
A lot of minions are dying.
I mean, my opinion is that like a lot of AD carries right now, especially the Aphelios and the Sennas, are just that much stronger at like 2-3 items.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, I feel that Xayah would turn on at 1 item. You know?
That's true, yeah.
You could start being aggressive on Kai'Sa at like 1, maybe 2 items.
Grab yourself
right?
an Essence Reaver and you're good to go.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where I think the AD carries were different, the mid laners were different, and it's just the nature of the meta where back then it was just a lot more, where you had a lot more tools to be aggressive early. It looks like G2 now look at...
Oh.
It is the day of missed skill shots. I think I've already got a segment planned for tomorrow, Medic.
Yep. Maybe something about the moon, in the wrong position. Aphelios would definitely struggle.
But in any case, it's... I think it's just the nature of the meta where right now the game is just inherently slower, at least for the first 15 to 20 minutes of the game.
I do want to come back to your item point, though. You were saying, you know, Aphelios 2 items, you're looking for these item spikes that are a bit later into the game. And in the last game, you talked about how Origin didn't really pressure too much when they get that extra little bit of an item, but G2 tend to get a little bit more out of item spikes.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I've been trying to find easy ways to help differentiate the teams.
Yeah.
And the problem Origin had, of course, last game was that they were like they couldn't do Baron. Like they, folks looking for Larson. Good stun.
Yeah, pulls him back. The showstopper comes out as well. Larson gets away from the hook and distorts as well. Uses the flash, but manages to escape what looked like a very likely kill.
So you can see in that instance, Perkz had a lot more confidence because there was no tower this time.
Yeah.
So he knew where he was going to land with the ult, and he was much better set up to try and land that W, forcing the flash out from Larson. But the thing is, like, yes, over the last 2 weeks, G2, once they got their power spikes with their comp, very good at being proactive. I mean, we saw it on the lower third stats, right? Like, gold difference of 15, like, they had plus 3,000 gold on average. However, with the comp that they've currently got, it is a lot more about scaling. So to expect them to try and be more aggressive, I think is a little unfair, in the sense that with this composition, I don't think that they need to try and force anything. If anything, it's Rogue that have to put the pressure on, because Larson and Finn are going to have a harder time finding these kills later into the game because of how Soraka is. And she's nearing the completion of that redemption. You can see that the Soraka is a whole level behind Finn. Perkz is a whole level behind Larson. And when you kind of look at the map state, you kind of think, okay, well, Rogue have control. They're the ones constantly pushing in waves. If you look at the mini-map right now, you can see top is pushed in, bot is pushed in, Rogue are grouped up in the mid lane, and they should finally be able to convert this into a tower because they've been able to move around the map cleanly, but wave clear from Aphelios is going to hold the line for a little bit longer, and Rogue should instead just use this to try and move towards the Drake. And it's one of the situations where Rogue are trying to be proactive. They are trying to do the right thing, and I think they could have taken that mid tower earlier, but as we talked about, they overforced the fight. But now we see the TP is coming through. Perkz also has his teleport available. He's going to base and look to reset as Larson chunks out Caps. That's a big deal because the TP is just used by Caps.
Oh, Mickey hooked straight into a wall, was pulled back by the Infernal Chains. And then it's healed back up to full because Wonder exists and Soraka is a champion in the game. There's a deep teleport here by Perkz.
Yeah, I don't think Rogue actually see this, but
Finn's on a
Perkz
ward.
sees Finn.
Finn's on a ward. Inspires off towards the top side. Finn jumping in. The Aatrox, the Dawning Shadow. Is the damage enough here from Rogue? Because otherwise G2 are just going to reset the fight, but already Caps is so low. He's healed up. Finn can't quite get on him. Larson trying to do it now. Caps still alive somehow. Larson jumps in once again, and Caps survives. Look at Perkz jumping into the back line now as Larson falls. G2, you just can't kill him. You just can't do it. G2 wipe away Rogue.
Wonder was the perfect ambulance in that fight. It was just heal for you, heals for absolutely everyone. And I just want our eyes to focus on Caps because Rogue's goal was to kill the AD carry. If he's gone, then that's it. Look how low he gets. First heal, second heal, he's still alive. Grievous Wounds is applied to him, doesn't matter. Look at the damage. Doesn't matter, because the heal comes through again. They just can't shut him down. He's building up chakram stacks again. You think he's going to die? Nope. He's got another heal coming out from Wonder. This man refuses to fall, and then Perkz is like, okay, it's time for the boss to join the fray.
Punching time.
And he just cleans up the back end of the fight. Extremely well done by Wonder and Caps there, and it's the power of Soraka, dude.
Look at the damage that came out from Caps. Imagine if he'd been assassinated at the start. Missing 5,000 damage and Rogue just unable to find their mark. Perkz did his best Saitama impression at the end, just punching people left and right. Only took one punch a lot of the time, but Rogue thought they had it set up. And now G2 are the ones to start up the Cloud Dragon.
Now, it's crucial to acknowledge that Caps and Perks don't have their flashes. Both very important for the upcoming team fight, because it's not that Rogue lacked the ability to jump on top of Caps. So now he won't have that flash available, and if he is separated from Wonder, then that is how you can win that team fight.
Mickey gets the dredge line away, but he's going to be caught up. The chain's coming out, and Mickey's fallen. Rogue gave up on the Cloud. They said, we'll take mid lane tower. Mickey mispositioned, and he fell for it. There's only 100 gold between these two teams, 25 minutes in. There's a Cloud Soul on its way for G2. They could do Baron, but you got to feel it's slow. They have a Senna.
It is slow. You are correct. We saw that last game when Origin tried to do it. I imagine Soraka will have enough time to walk to this objective, but it doesn't matter, because the great thing about LeBlanc is she's going to use this pressure to look for picks, and that is Rogue's goal right now.
Okay, Jankos. Forced back by Larssen. He's got about half of his mana left. 8,000 HP on the Baron.
Again,
Finn's there as well.
The Baron is not what you want to watch. It is Larssen that you want to watch, because it's very difficult for Rogue to actually finish this one off, especially with Jankos in the vicinity. It's all about whether or not Larssen can find the important kill needed to secure the objective.
Perks has the flank. Perks has the flank. Perks is coming in. He's looking for Hansama, but he goes into the Curse of Black Mist. Pulls back Vander. Perks still there. Showstopper coming down. It's only onto Vander, but he doesn't have the thick skin. Dawning Shadow coming out. And all of G2 are in the river now, and all of Rogue have split up. All to the corners of the globe. Inspired jumps in and gets capped. Hansama's going to fall as well. But on the back line, Larssen and Finn find two. And now Inspired, Larssen and Finn are going to chase down Perks and Jankos. Perks is tanky. Finn's jumping over. Larssen was trying to get on that blast cone, but Finn was having none of it. Took the express train to the top lane, and Inspired and Finn are on the chase. Jankos pops the Predator. Finn lands the knock-up. Here comes Larssen, still low on that mana, and they decide they don't want any more of this action.
Wow, very intense fight between the two teams there, but all the credit needs to go towards Inspired. This man is what cleans up the fight for Rogue. It doesn't result in a Baron, but it results in some pretty big kills. And remember what we were talking about earlier, the lack of flashes available on both Caps and Perks were very important in this fight, because Perks wants to get on top of Hansama, but he's trying his best to stay untargetable and just run circles around Caps. So he's forced to use his ultimate onto the Tahm Kench, who's now gone immediately. But now, watch Inspired. He lands the Q onto Caps, he gets low, gets this initial kill. Then he kicks Wonder into Mickey. He also sidesteps the hook, and he sets up the knock-up to allow for Finn and for Larssen to clean up the back line, turning this fight in favor of Rogue. Huge stuff there from Inspired.
He's only 18 years old, Vedius. Great stuff by Inspired. You can see there, if Caps isn't kept alive, G2 are unable to win out on these fights. That wish just a millisecond too late, but still, the team's basically even.
But big props to Rogue, really going toe-to-toe with G2 right now. We have to remember last week, Rogue really got stomped by Origin, losing in the top side, really getting outclassed in the draft. But this time round, we can see Rogue really fighting up against the likes of G2. Many expectations were high for this team, and many people are kind of backtracking now after their first 2 weeks, but we can see what this team is capable of and some of the skilled players that they do have on their roster.
And what a weekend it's shaping up to be for G2. A game they were expected to win today against Rogue, really pushing them to the edge of their seats. And then tomorrow, Fnatic, the rematch of the summer finals. A loss here perhaps would be devastating. Of course, G2 still have a long way to go in the spring split, so one loss doesn't always mean that you lose your motivation. Now,
but many people are looking and thinking about G2 of, is this the 18-0 split? You know, you handedly destroyed Origin, and this was supposed to be just a stepping stone, as you said, towards the big fight against Fnatic tomorrow, but already they're being pushed to their limits, and a lot of it's just coming down to execution in team fights. We've got to go back to the summoner spells. Flash is now available for Perks. Caps has just completed the Bloodthirster, so he has even more sustain on top of the sustain coming out from the Soraka, but his Flash is up as well. Now that these are available, it's going to be that much harder for Rogue to lock them down.
Executioner's calling on Finn, one on Hansama as well. No Morello on Larssen. Do you want to bring attention to that? Of course, he has the Ignite to apply his own grievous wounds in a fight. Looking to burst someone down. Caps has to be the target, you feel. If Perks survives a fight, it's not the end of the world for Rogue. But if Caps is there, rattling out the damage on Aphelios, you can kiss your butts goodbye. Caps pushing in here. Hansama and Vander try to defend the mid lane tower, but there are 4 members of G2.
Very out of position right now. Look at the positioning of the Lee Sin. The moment G2 spot him out on a ward, they know that they can push in, but that's a lot of damage onto Caps.
He heals it back up. Finn trying to trade onto Perks, going to pull him back. Does he win this one? Perks still has the ultimate, but Finn going in with the World Ender. Here comes the Abyssal Voyage from Tom Kench. They're looking for the fight in the bot lane. Perks has to flash away. Finn still on the chase. The rest of G2 are on their way as well as Caps lands the moonshot across the wall. Gets a bit of crescendum damage. Remember as well, we've only got 4 seconds on this Drake that would be a soul for G2 and Rogue. They have to take the fight.
Normally, Perks would be forced back, but Soraka, she's going to help heal up Perks. He also has the health regeneration from his passive. The Drake has now been started off. Finn looking for the flank. I think he got spotted by G2. They know he's coming.
They know that Finn's there. They know that Larsen's there. They know that this Cloud Drake could be the final moment of the game. Larsen hooks straight away. There's the silence. That was beautiful, G2. They laid the trap. They baited it. And Larsen jumps straight on in. Rogue realized they can't take this fight anymore. It will be a Cloud Soul for G2 at the 31-minute mark.
And Larsen is quick to go quiet as G2 stack the combo and are able to find that kill. They're going to grab themselves the Cloud Drake Soul. Now they can set their eyes on the Baron.
Rogue, we'll see if they decide to fight this one, because you don't have the burst of Larsen. You don't have someone who can assassinate Caps. Inspired. Well, if you take this, it will be an inspired play to say the least. Looking for the steal across the wall, Vander Finn.
They know
and
he's
Hans
looking.
Summer.
They know he's looking.
They know he's there. There's the redemption. Vander caught up. Graviton's gonna land on him. Damage coming out. Jankos almost falls. Jankos is down. The juggler is gone. And the showstopper comes in. Perks trying to jump on the back line, but Vander is gonna gobble up Hans Summer. Tries to knock him out. Hans Summer flashes the wall. Wonder's still there on the front line, but look at the back line. Finn jumping onto Caps. Caps has no healing. Caps has no healing, but he can do it himself to sever him. Not quite enough. Perks trading onto Hans Summer down towards the bottom side of this fight. Wonder flashes forward, but Larsen's here now, and they can probably turn this one around because the ignite is ticking, and G2 are collapsing in the river. This was beautiful from Rogue. This was dominant from Rogue. And G2 are left wondering, how can Wonder not save us today?
And it's Rogue that walk away as the victors and can start off the Baron. G2 were separated. G2 were divided. The ambulance couldn't heal everyone at once. And the moment Caps was left to fend for himself, that is when Rogue struck. Beautiful play from the Rogue squad. Inspired coming up clutch once again. This will be the Baron for Rogue.
32 minutes in, and Rogue have rattled G2 back on their haunches as Rogue take this Baron.
So, initial engage misses from G2. A lot gets burnt to try and take down the Tom Kench, but it ends up being Jankos, and immediately it's a 4v5. Now Perks is splitting off in one direction, but Caps is left to fight in the other. Wonder's making the decision, do I keep Caps alive, or do I go towards the... Set? And this is where he makes the decision. Caps then gets left isolated. He's healing up a lot, but the flash kick from Inspired is what's enough to help secure the kill. He almost heals up with the Severum and the Bloodthirster, but then really to tie off the fight is when Larsen rejoins the fray. G2, they thought they had the numbers advantage. They thought they could win another fight around Baron, but it is Rogue who turns this one around. It is Rogue that now holds on to the Baron, and it is Rogue that could end the undefeated streak for G2.
3,000 gold ahead, 33 minutes in. Rogue trying to do something that many doubted they could even get close to, in all honesty. G2 have looked so dominant over the last couple of weeks, but we have seen them drop games like this before, and all credit to Rogue for taking their opportunities so far. There's an Elder Dragon in 3 minutes. The Baron buff, mildly utilized so far, I would say. Looks like a bit of a 1-3-1, but Jankos is on the chase. And because all of the members of G2 are up here, Rogue are going to push in a couple of lanes.
But there's no wave in mids. Finn should be able to secure this tower in the bot lane. I doubt G2's going to invest any teleports to defend it. So Rogue will be able to get some towers off the back end. Of course, Elder spawns in the 2.5 minutes, and that's really going to be one of the deciding factors. This Baron probably won't determine a huge amount. G2 likely going to lose some towers. Fortunately for G2, Caps does have the flamethrower to really assist with that wave clear and help defend on the tower. He's also got the Severum as well, so he's just going to keep that one clear. Yeah, still hear the G2 players laughing, so spirits are still clearly high in this situation.
Luca the Bazooka having a little chuckle to himself. He is 7-2 on this set. He's built the Sterax, the Death's Dance, so it's the damage build, looking for that potential.
I mean, he's also got a lot of sustain, so he's going to be really difficult to kill now. You've got to remember how well that health regeneration passive, the lower he gets, the more he gets back. And it synergizes extremely well with the Death's Dance, but now the siege comes through for Finn. Again, the flamethrower going to be used to hold the line.
Hans Sommer's up to 80 stacks now, so he's got 100 extra attack range on that Senna. Almost up to the point where he's outranging turrets on some of these pushes.
Yeah, I think 700 range now for the Senna. Pretty crazy. Going to be doing a lot of damage. He's nearly completed his rapid fire cannon, which is really going to help, but 8 seconds left on the Baron buff. How do the rest of these fights play out? Well, G2 need to keep clumped up is one of the most crucial things. As we saw in the last fight, if G2 are divided, if Wonder's not healing, then something's going wrong. But Finn is now level 17. He's got 3 items completed himself. Admittedly, he's not going to get that much stronger from this point forward, but he still does enough damage that should he find his way onto Caps, he will be able to execute him.
A house divided will fall. G2, as you say, need to stay together, need to stay clumped up. Ooh,
Caps,
goes Vedi.
Caps has the QSS now. Now, I don't know if you had an opportunity to see, I think it was Mystic play.
I did, QSS
But the QSS of the Lee Sin kick, if you have the reactions for it, and if anyone in Europe has the reactions for something like that, it's definitely our main man, Caps. We'll see if he can pull it off, but he definitely, I think he bought that with the kick in mind, with the intent that Rogue is definitely looking to shut him down.
Well, there's the kick, the chains, the last embrace, the infernal chains. There's enough to lock him down in these fights. We'll see if he uses it on the kick. Jankos now has a stopwatch, or Zhonya's hourglass.
You can also see, Medic, that all the summoner spells are now back up. Flash for Caps should be coming up any second now. So all summoner spells are available. Everything is primed and ready. Items have been finished. Both these teams are looking at each other. Caps does a lot of damage.
This is a great fight for G2. Look at how clumped up they are together. Finn uses the stopwatch now. Vander and Hans Sommer try to bring G2 down, but there's 2 seconds on the Elder. Rogue, you can't hard force mid. You don't have a wave. G2 going to start up that Elder Dragon. There's no vision really here for Rogue at all. Control ward goes into the bush. Finn looking for the flank position, but last time they did that, they were caught out. Inspired, Larson all jumping across. Perks has a great flank here as well on the set. Moments away from what could be the game-defining fight. Hans Sommer pops the curse of Black Mist. Perks has been spotted out. Mickey lands the hook. But here comes Finn. Here comes Larson. They're looking to jump in. Perks has got us to the back line, though, with the showstopper. Vander's low. Wonder has to get away. Hans Sommer's still alive, though. Here comes Wonder back into the fight. Inspired falling into the GA. Perks has got one. Perks is looking for more. Hans Sommer jumps into the midst of death. Larson can't get the tail. And G2 have wiped them. G2 have done them. G2 have taken them in the river.
It looked so good for Rogue, but it was not enough. This time round, Wonder was in full ambulance mode. He was healing everyone. Only he dropped, and now with a full ace, G2 with the Elder Dragon can look to break into the base of Rogue.
No Baron buff for them, but this should be pretty quick on at least the inhibitor, maybe more, maybe the game here. 23 seconds on Inspired, 28 on Larson. Caps can shred through these towers very quickly, as can Perks. They will take the inhibitor tower, they will take the inhib, and it looks like they're going for the win.
A valiant fight from Rogue, but it just was not enough, and huge props to Caps. This man, he was just forced to try and hold the line in so many of these fights, but he survived in the fight that mattered most, and now G2 looking to end.
Vander locked up underneath the turret. One Nexus tower stands, but it will fall after a second. The kick back on Caps. Hans Sommer trying to get the kill, but look at the healing. Caps has regens it all. The shutdown coming up from Larson. Teleport coming in as well. As here comes the damage. Perks on the front line. Finn there as well. Hans Sommer, Larson, Finn all trying to defend. But look at Perks. How do you beat that? How do you kill that? You can't. He survives. And G2, after a nail-biter of a game, after back and forth, this and that, G2 take the win.
Whew, that definitely was not easy for G2. Rogue made them work for it, and such massive props need to go to Inspired. He played so many of these fights so well, but the final Elder Drake, Rogue just could not be in position. They didn't get the setup that they wanted, and G2 were able to come out on top. They keep their undefeated streak. They go to 5-0. But we're seeing these teams starting to challenge the top.